So when you were halfway through your world record deadlift and your nose started to bleed, can you remember that moment and how you felt?
Yeah, so, I mean, the half-ton deadlift, so regardless what people think, I'd never lifted above 460 kilos before that day. Never. So
is it true you did the 2 lifts that day, or really close?
Yeah. So the most I ever lifted in the gym was 450. The most I'd ever lifted in the competition was 460. So I was coming into that competition that day, and I claimed that I was going to beat the world record by 37 kilo in one day, which was obscene. It was obscene. You know, it had been broken by 1 kilo a year every year for 20 years, you know. So for me to add 37 kilo on in one day was just like, it was deemed impossible by so many people.
Yeah.
So I suppose when I lifted it and it started to, you know, as soon as I got past my knees and I'm at the halfway point, I guess it was just that not a feeling of like, fuck you to everyone, but like a feeling of like, there you go. You know, if you really want something, if you put your heart and soul into something in life, you can achieve it. And it was just such a satisfying moment. The last few inches of the deadlift, I was just looking.
You were just showing it.
Just looking at the crowd, just like so pleased with myself.
Yeah.
Because there was so much negativity. There was so many people saying it was impossible. You know, the promoters of strongman said it was impossible. The other strongman said it was impossible. I was very vocal on social media, and I'd say 99% of the fans said it was impossible. So I was just fighting this brick wall of negativity, just like, it's not going to happen, you're an idiot, you're a dick, you're deluded, blah, 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 blah. So that was a nice moment for me to prove all those people wrong and pull that 500 kilo deadlift.
And was that the motivation then? Did it become about proving people wrong?
It was a big part of it, I'll be honest. You know, if someone says you can't do something, I'm going to try my hardest to prove those people wrong. And it's almost, it does light a little fire in your belly, you know. And I think every single comment, every single like negative word and passing comment, whatever you see, it's just throwing a piece of coal on.
Yeah.
And that's how I saw it. Every time I'd see something, I'd just get more riled up, like, right. It would make me genuinely train harder and focus more and eat better and recover better. You know, it really did focus me in.
How did you prepare your mind to go in that day knowing that you've nowhere near lifted this before and not let the doubts creep in?
Yeah.
I mean, did you know that day you were going to do it? Or was there any doubts?
Of course there's doubts, but I just joked myself that much. I kidded myself that much that I had to believe it, you know? I said the most I ever lifted in the gym was 450. And any time I went above that, my head would fall off.
What does head fall off mean?
Like I'd lose faith before I'd even try to lift it.
I see, yeah.
You know, and then I'd go to lift it and I'd break the ground and fail and I think it's because my mind just wasn't there. My mind kept telling me this was impossible. And I had to do a load of research. I spoke to a lot of universities, a lot of scientists, blood doctors, everything else. Bear in mind, I had a year to prep, and it was a scientist that broke it down for me. He's like, Luke, he's like, you aren't going to lift this. It's like the only way the human body can lift this kind of weight is if you trigger the fight or flight scenario. And it's been proven of like people have car accidents and mothers lift, you know, cars off of the kids and fathers have like done amazing things to protect the children and, you know. And that's the instant he gave to me. He's like, you've got to put yourself in this kind of scenario. You've got to release that massive dump of adrenaline to get access to all your muscle fibers. And what really like made me understand it was, he said a day-to-day person, someone who takes the kids to school, goes to work, does a bit of shopping, picks the kids up and goes home, you know, and watches TV all night. That person's probably got access to 50, 60% of the muscle fibers at most. Someone who's more in tune with the body, like an athlete who's using the body every day, coordination, you know, activating those muscle fibers, they've probably got access to about 70, 75% of the muscle fibers at most. But a mother who's been in a car crash and the kids are trapped under a car, that massive dump of adrenaline, they've got access to 100% of the muscle fibers, and they can outstrength like a strong man who's only got 50%. And that's when that was like a flick switch moment for me. I was like, wow, okay. So I've got to go to a dark place. And then I recruited a hypnotherapist who we did a lot of work together, a lot of sitting down and just talking about scenarios and ways to approach the lift and what sort of mind frame to have. And we got to a point where we discussed a scenario, a very horrible, very, very horrible scenario involving my kids, and something that would trigger a massive rush of adrenaline.
Can you share that?
No,
No.
I can't. We're not without getting upset.
Yeah.
And so what we had to do was, just before I do this lift, I'm sort of just... So not a lot of people know this. Before I did the 500 kilo deadlift, I'd locked myself in a disabled toilet for about 20 minutes. And I just had two pals in there with me, just talking, just bigging each other up, just fucking like, you're gonna do this. It's like, you know, to the point where, and then I did a trigger point with the hypnotherapist, or a pincher point in the back of my hand, and that brings all those feelings and emotions, rushed to my head. And I remember I didn't open the door, I kicked the door open from this disabled toilet. And I just walked out, got my suit on, and just walked up and lifted it. And I felt like I could walk on water. That's how high I was. That's how, that massive rush of adrenaline. And then when I got my hands on the bar and I closed my eyes, that's when I was like, my mind just went into a different dimension almost. I wasn't Eddie Hall lifting that weight in the arena. I was Eddie Hall in a different place, you know, in this scenario. And I closed my eyes, and if you watch the footage of me lifting, my eyes are shut, and then halfway up they just open, and I can't see anything. But you look into my eyes and tell me they didn't change colour. You tell me that, because they fucking do. And then I stand up, and then I sort of finish the lift, and it's like, ding, like back in the room, and it's just like, fucking hell. Like, it was literally an out-of-body experience. You sort of like, yeah, I wasn't in the arena, my head was somewhere else. And then when I completed the lift, it was like, back in the room. It was quite surreal, and it's quite hard for people to comprehend, but this is the scenario I had to do.
Yeah.